What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham Jason Matthews, break down all the content that I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking the latest episode of WWE Ride Along with the IKonics Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins, called the Lone Star Scavenger Hunt, was the name of today's episode. Now, this was a bit of a different episode than what we're used to on Ride Along. Since the show's debut over 3 years ago, it's always been about where they're coming from to where they're going and the journey along the way. Now, every episode's enjoyable for different reasons. Some are obviously better than others, but the concept is fairly played out, in my opinion. Now, even the last episode of The Bar and Carmella and R-Truth, which I think I talked about either a week ago or a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever. It was a good episode, but again, you can only watch the same people, because they've had the same people on these shows before. They've had the IKonics on before, they've had The Bar on before, they've had R-Truth on before, maybe Carmella. They've had the same people on the show multiple times, kind of doing the same thing. So I was very happy to find out that they switched up the format of this week's show. On the Lone Star Scavenger Hunt, it's exactly what the episode title suggests, and that they go off on a scavenger hunt in Austin, Texas. So they leave from the arena. They're not even going from one place to the other. I mean, they kind of are, but it's not like they're going from Dallas to Austin. Like, they're going from just the town of Austin, driving around, trying to do a scavenger hunt. So this is a lot of fun. The IKonics are very entertaining. I'm not a big fan of their on-air personalities. I just find them to be absolutely unbearable. For the wrong reasons, too, not because they're heels. And I love Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins. So I found this episode to be a lot of fun, and I love the concept. So, like I said, they go around on a scavenger hunt in Austin, Texas, and they're provided clues before they go out. They're open to interpretation, and they have to find and take photos at each location associated with all the clues that they're given. And the first team to arrive at the arena, arrive back at the arena, rather, in Austin for that night's episode of Raw, I believe, with the most amount of photos associated with the clues they were given, wins. So these are the clues that they're given. They're given 7 clues, and a picture, I guess, can cross off. A picture, I guess, can cross off 2 clues at the same time. So their clues are the following: 1, an iconic Austin landmark, no pun intended with the IKonics being on this episode. 2, a wall of art. 3, Meals on Wheels. 4, a Texas steer, which is I think a bull or a horse or something like that. I know it's not exactly what Hawkins and Ryder thought it was, which was a steer, like a steering wheel, which is dumb. It was like a bull or something like that. 5 was do something touristy. 6, do the Abbey Road, like the Beatles from London, even though they're in Austin, Texas, but do the Abbey Road. And then 7, Cheetos and chicken, which is a product at KFC, which I'll talk about in a second. So Peyton, first of all, they're kind of at a disadvantage, the IKonics are, because Peyton doesn't know how to put their car in drive, and they have to get some help with that before they get on the road. Zack Ryder asks Curt Hawkins, what's your fondest memory from Austin, Texas? And Hawkins reveals that it was in Austin 7 years ago in August of 2012 where he and Tyler Reks debuted their stripping gimmick on SmackDown. Now, a lot of people listening to this probably either don't remember it or have no idea that this happened. But yes, it did. On an episode of SmackDown, back when SmackDown meant nothing, in August of 2012, Hawkins and Reks, Tyler Reks, who had been together for about a year at that point on like NXT Redemption, back when it was a shit show, they were put back on the main roster in mid-2012, not doing anything of note whatsoever, but they debuted this stripping gimmick that had it was really a one-off gimmick. I'm sure it was supposed to become more than that, but Hawkins talked about how nervous he was for it and how he was given a round of applause from the talent backstage when he walked backstage afterward. Maybe this was supposed to go longer, but either A, management thought it was dumb, which they should have thought it was dumb before they even did it. What a dumb fucking gimmick, especially nowadays. Either management didn't like it, or 2, Tyler Reks, he left the company. He up and left WWE soon after, like almost immediately after, actually. And I don't think it was because of this gimmick. He had said he had to start a family, and I don't think he's wrestled since. But yeah, so Tyler Reks and Hawkins did this stripping gimmick in Austin. Who the fuck knew? I guess I remember it, but a lot of people probably don't. It was really, really stupid. The IKonics, meanwhile, recall winning the WWE Women's Tag Team titles at WrestleMania 35 and how much it meant to them. Speaking of Mania 35, Zack Ryder talks about his Christian-inspired gear from WrestleMania 20 and how Curt Hawkins' gear, and also on Ryder's gear, he had an homage. He paid tribute to, the Broski being dead and, the Major Broskis, him and, the Major Brothers, him and Curt Hawkins. So a pretty well put together gear for Zack Ryder at WrestleMania this year. Curt Hawkins' gear, when they won the Raw Tag Team titles from the Revival on the kickoff show, paid tribute to the Jets because they were in Jets Stadium. They were at MetLife, which is where the Jets play, and the Giants, which, I guess Ryder brought it up here, and I know nothing about football, but he brought up here why do the Jets and the Giants play in the same arena, but neither are in New York? It is New Jersey. Not even technically New Jersey. It is fucking New Jersey, so I don't know. And they couldn't really come up with an answer. Maybe other people know. The IKonics talk and think back about Super Showdown, not the most recent abomination in Saudi Arabia, because they weren't even there for that one, but rather the first Super Showdown in their native Australia back in October, and how much that meant to them, being in front of their families, and how WrestleMania might have meant. I'm not sure if they said WrestleMania meant more because they won the tag titles, but obviously being in their, home country and home, I don't know if they're from Melbourne. I don't really know exactly. But it meant a lot to them to be in front of their family, competing in front of them and all that other great stuff. Curt Hawkins talks about how his losing streak, he never knew that it would amount to what it did, with them winning the Raw Tag Team titles from the Revival at WrestleMania after losing for 2.5 years straight. And Zack Ryder said that he was very happy to be a part of that. With him, winning the Raw Tag Team titles at Mania. Ryder said one of his biggest regrets after he won the Intercontinental Championship back at WrestleMania 32 3 years ago was that he did not take a picture with Edge and Christian after he won the title backstage. He was able to rectify that this year, and he thought, maybe that didn't happen to allow this to happen, because he rectified it this year backstage when he and Hawkins took a picture with Ryder, with Edge and Christian backstage as Raw Tag Team Champions. Really cool picture that Ryder said he has hanging up in his house somewhere. The IKonics talk about working out with Sheamus and his hectic workout regimen. Ryder and Hawkins are able to scratch off numbers 1, 2, and 5. So they're able to do the iconic Austin landmark. They're able to do the Wall of Art and the do something touristy by stopping at a collection store. The Wall of Art is like a wall of collection figures, which I don't think really counts, but whatever. It's not exactly an iconic Austin landmark. I don't think so. It's just a fucking toy store, but whatever. They're able to do it. And they buy all these action figures, and they're fucking in heaven here, because obviously if you know Ryder and Hawkins and the podcast, they do all this stuff they do outside of WWE. They have their own action figure, collection and stuff like that, podcast talking about it. They're obsessed with action figures, probably more so Ryder than Curt Hawkins. But yeah, they were dying here over the fact they were able to pick up so many action figures, including an old Lillian Garcia action figure, which apparently Zack Ryder really, really wanted because he didn't previously have it. So they do the Abbey Road in the parking lot with the action figures. They kind of set them up to look like they're doing the Abbey Road. So that scratches off number 6 for that one. And then Ryder and Hawkins stop at KFC. The IKonics pull up right behind them. The IKonics are able to do 7 and 6. They do the Abbey Road outside of the KFC headquarters, outside of the KFC, not headquarters, but the KFC, building, whatever. And then they eat the number 7, Cheetos and chicken, as do Ryder and Hawkins. So I guess KFC, they had sponsored a previous episode, not the last one, but the one with Sonya and Mandy, and I forgot who else was on that episode, but they did that. I think it might have been, I think it was Rusev and Lana. I'm pretty sure it was, now that I think about it. But they stopped at KFC on that episode. They stopped in KFC on this episode too, because KFC is huge down south. We have a bunch up here in the Northeast too, but not nearly as much as I'm sure there is down south. They had this chicken sandwich that they put fucking Cheetos in. I'm sorry, the IKonics raved about it here. I think Hawkins and Ryder liked it. I don't really remember. I think that's absolutely fucking disgusting. That's just me, but putting Cheetos on a chicken sandwich, and I'm a big chicken guy. I love my chicken. Putting chicken, or Cheetos rather, in a chicken sandwich sounds absolutely disgusting. So you can, maybe you're a fan of that, I don't know. And I'm sure KFC really wanted to promote their product here, which is great. And great on them for doing that. But if I was supposed to be on this episode of Ride Along and we were supposed to eat a Cheetos and chicken sandwich, I would say I forfeit this one. I'm not eating that shit. That looks completely disgusting. Anyway, Hawkins and Ryder talk about action figures. Curt Hawkins admits that he one time spent $1,500 on a single action figure, which I believe was the Ultimate Warrior. It was like a 1 in 15 collection from 2015, right after Warrior died. If you think that's a lot of money, get this. Zack Ryder hysterically goes, I hope Chelsea isn't listening. Cover your ears if you are. His girlfriend, Chelsea Green from NXT, Laurel Van Ness from Impact years ago. Zack Ryder admits he one time spent $11,000 on a single fucking Kamala action figure a while back. A Kamala action figure, like the Ultimate Warrior, I get it was from Mattel. That's awesome. A Kamala action figure just because it had the fucking moon on his stomach. Hey, maybe it's because it's not my world and I don't collect action figures. At least not like, I have a bunch from like, AJ Styles, Austin Aries, Bobby Roode that I'm looking at right now. I like the pop vinyls. I spend $15 on those. I can't imagine spending $11,000. But I guess if you're in WWE and have that type of money, more power to you. But holy shit, that's a lot of money. Meanwhile, the IKonics do number 3 and 5, which would have been the Meals on Wheels, where they eat in the car, I guess. And they do something touristy. I forgot what that would have been. Zack Ryder talks about collecting the chair from the Royal Rumble this year, because he had never been on a pay-per-view chair before prior to this year. He wasn't even in the match. I think he got pulled out at the last second. He had said that Curt Hawkins he's like, oh, I'm happy that you were in the match. I don't think Curt was put in over Ryder. I had read originally months ago, back in January, right after the show, that Kurt Angle actually took Zack Ryder's spot. So he can blame Kurt Angle for taking his spot in the Royal Rumble this year. But he has the chair anyway, and he said, he kind of talks about his collection of shit in his office, even though Curt Hawkins calls it a shrine to himself. He's like, that's kind of weird. And Zack Ryder's like, no, it's my office, dude. I have all my shit, stuff that I'm proud of, You don't think, Michael Jordan has a jersey of himself in his own home, which I probably imagine that he wouldn't, but I guess you never know. Curt Hawkins is like, dude, you can call it an office, but it's really a shrine. Get over it. It's really funny. So the IKonics, meanwhile, they bring back the old game from an old episode of Ride Along. Kiss, Marry, and Repug. Repug means like, dismiss. Maybe not kill, but like just, I don't want to do anything with them. So they played this game, I think, on Ride Along last time. Peyton has a choice between Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, and Rey Mysterio. She chooses to repug AJ Styles, which surprises me. She chooses to marry Rey Mysterio and then kiss Kurt Angle. Billy Kay says, I will marry Scott Dawson, repug Zack Ryder, and kiss Curt Hawkins. Because I guess she called Curt Hawkins that she had said that he has a bit of a swag about him. He's married, so I don't really need to hear that. Then Peyton has a choice between Shane McMahon, Randy Orton, and Roman Reigns. Almost immediately right off the bat, she chooses to repug Shane McMahon because she knows, okay, I don't want to do anything with this guy. She then says she'll give a little bit of a peck to Randy Orton because she knows that Kim, Orton's wife, will kill her if she does anything more than that, and even then she'll probably get angry. I wouldn't be surprised if I see a tweet on Twitter today about how from Kim to Peyton saying, hey, back off my man, you slut, or something like that, you know what I mean? Maybe not quite like Rebby Hardy, who is just a fucking animal with Matt and all that other stuff, and she seems really nice, but she gets a bit overboard sometimes. She goes a bit overboard of that type of stuff from time to time. But anyway, and then she says that she would marry Roman Reigns, which I think he's married too, but whatever. Going back to Hawkins and Ryder, they call Christian in their car, because Christian and Edge called Zack Ryder on their episode of Ride Along about a year ago, about 8-9 months ago, which I reviewed here on the show. A cheap plug, go back and check it out. Christian asks Zack Ryder, are you driving right now? Because you drive like an old lady if you are, which was funny. And then Zack Ryder said, I have 2 questions for you, Christian. And he goes, okay, go ahead. Zack Ryder says, will I ever be formally on your podcast? Christian says never. And then he says, who do you like more between me and Curt? And then Christian gives this great answer. He goes, well, I don't really like either of you guys, which I thought was amazing. So great to hear from Christian on this episode of Ride Along. So then getting back to the IKonics car, they're able to do 1 and 4, which would be the iconic Austin landmark and the Texas steer outside of like a picture of a bull or a horse or something like that. So they win. They get back to the arena and they win with that. Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins in their car, they talk about Galaxy Edge, or Zack Ryder really does, his experience of that, the new Star Wars park in Disney World, near Disney World. I think it is Disney World. It's just Universal Studios, or what is it now? Hollywood Studios, whatever. Not Universal, that's something else. Hollywood Studios, formerly known as MGM. He talks about going there on opening day, how crazy he was, waiting in line since 5:30 in the morning, which is fucking unbelievable. He was there with his girlfriend, soon-to-be wife, Chelsea Green, and how it was the most stressful day of his life, but he really wants to go back. So yeah, the IKonics win the game. They get to the arena in time, they win the game. Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins take a picture of them doing a Texas steer, which is steering the steering wheel, which is fucking dumb. And the ref, who, tells them when they get to the arena that they didn't win, he's on the receiving end of a tirade from Hawkins and Ryder about how, that's dumb, we should have won the whole thing, obviously joking, but it was just funny to see Hawkins and Ryder going off on this poor ref, whose job was just to tell them, hey, you guys lost, the IKonics already won. Great pictures, but that didn't exactly constitute as a Texas steer. It was a bit far off for his liking. So the IKonics win, and that's it for this episode of Ride Along. So yeah, I really like this episode of Ride Along. A lot of laughs from both the IKonics and Ryder and Hawkins. I love this a lot. I love the concept with the scavenger hunt. I hope they bring this back, because it was great. Maybe this will go old, get old at some point, but it's a lot better than what they were doing before, just spending 20 minutes talking about nothing during a car ride, which was entertaining and it's fine, but I think the scavenger hunt really opens the door for a lot of different possibilities, and also gives us, a new understanding of what cities they're in. I think it's great. So hopefully we see more of this on Ride Along in the future. But be sure to check it out. Absolutely 120% is it recommended on this episode of Ride Along, called Lone Star Scavenger Hunt, available now on the WWE Network. As for me, guys, be sure to like this video. Thank you for checking it out first and foremost. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll be back with more content as the week progresses, between hashtag AskGSM on Wednesday, Wrestle Rant radio excerpts on Thursday, a new Wrestle Rant video on Friday covering, I think it's NWA, WCW, Halloween Havoc 1989, if you want to check that out on Friday, and then more, old miscellaneous content going up over the weekend. So anyway, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.